Now, there was a hearing today, congressional hearing. RFK Jr. attacked by the Democrats for allegedly putting politics above science. Now, keep in mind, HHS, under the HHS, we had the COVID lockdown, which I think most, even Democrats, now believe was an overreach. Here in California, we had the most severe lockdown of any state in the union. In LA, where I am, kids were denied 2 years of in-learning education. Turns out completely unnecessary. And being denied 2 years of in-learning education translates into years of less earning potential. People lost their jobs if they work for the state for failing to get a vaccine. There were sheriff's departments that compelled people to get the vaccine against their wishes. As you know, many members of the military were discharged for failing to get the vaccine. We were told to wear a mask, and then we were told, well, Dr. Fauci said, the only reason I said that is because I didn't want there to be a run on masks, and I wanted the professionals to have them. And we were told to engage in social distancing, and then Dr. Fauci later on said, I don't know where that 6 feet thing came from. It just sort of appeared. He recommended a lockdown and denied that he recommended a lockdown. It was mass hysteria. And I remember when the Monday came where the mandates that Gavin Newsom promoted were to be implemented. Couldn't go to work. Because I was news, I was exempted. So I assumed when I got up to go to work, maybe it might be 25% less traffic. Maybe 15% less, no more than that, because I thought most people would say, to hell with you, you're not going to tell me I can't go to work, particularly those who work outdoors. I was shocked when I get in my car and I drive and I get on the street that normally is very, very congested. Nobody was there. You could have rolled a bowling ball down the middle of the street and not hit anything. Get on the freeway. Nobody's there. I was shocked. I thought so many people would defy the order that the jails would not be able to house people, and then you'd have to rescind it. I was shocked. Biden says if you get the vaccine, you will not get COVID. Remember that? And then I believe he got it twice. We were told you couldn't get it and you couldn't transmit it. Turns out that was not true. And now we're discovering all sorts of side effects and downsides that we didn't know about. And I said, when I ran for governor, I'm interviewed by CNN. And of course, the whole argument is that Elder is a vaccine denier. And I said, I don't believe healthy people should be mandated to have a vaccine. They're not likely to contract COVID. If they do, the symptoms are likely to be mild. They're not likely to get really sick. They're certainly not likely to die. And they played that part of my interview without editing it and then said, but that's not true according to the CDC, blah, 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 and then proceeded to say that I was wrong. I wasn't wrong.
The science says he's wrong on several counts.
You will not get COVID if you take the vaccine, said Joe Biden. And then remember, hey, I've got COVID, and then got it again. They were paying people, rewarding people to take the vaccine. You remember when Fauci went to that neighborhood in Washington, D.C., and one of the residents said, something wrong here. Normally this stuff takes years. You did it in record time, and you got to pay people to take it. There's something wrong with that. He wasn't a scientist, but he was dead on. And now we're finding all sorts of other things. More depression, more divorce, bankruptcies, a third of all restaurants here in the great state of California gone forever. They were shut down. And these were the ones that were the most thinly capitalized, ones that were primarily owned by, quote, people of color, the kinds of people that the left claims that they care about. And so you wonder how it is that there's such anger at RFK Jr. for cleaning house, getting rid of the same people that were pushing out all this bad information. And so the exchange was raucous. Listen to this, number 24.
You repeatedly choose to ignore data because it doesn't match your preconceived notions and lies. So you have said that the vaccine did save lives. You've said it was a monumental achievement. And given that, if you agree with President Trump that the vaccine saved millions of lives, why have you acted behind closed doors to overrule scientists and limit the freedom of parents to choose the COVID vaccine for their children? Why have you done that?
For the COVID vaccine, I was removed by FDA because they were the industry.
No, it was behind closed doors.
No, it's not
and scientists who said they wanted to brief you on the science, scientists who wanted to understand why the FDA, why you unilaterally changed the parameters for giving vaccines, making it possible now, to Senator Cassidy's colleagues' points, that they're going to have to go off-label
This is crazy talk. You're just making stuff up.
to prescribe a vaccine for children. I'm not making things up. Do you know how the FDA approval process works and what happens?
I know exactly.
Do you know what an off-label prescription is?
I know exactly how it works. I know exactly how it works.
So why behind closed doors?
It's not behind closed doors. The industry makes the studies, and they could not provide a study that said that it is effective for healthy kids.
So when have you produced the data that you relied on and that this FDA relied on to change those parameters? You did it behind closed doors.
No, the data is all public.
Now parents who decide that they do want their children to have
You're just
COVID
making stuff up, Senator.
I'm not
You're
making
just
stuff
making stuff up.
You know, sometimes when you make an accusation, it's kind of a confession, Mr. Kennedy. So let's just settle with this. So here's what's going to happen. To Senator Warner's point, to the parents who are concerned all around the country, to people who want to get the COVID vaccine this fall.
That's from Colorado first. Number 25.
I don't think, Mr. Secretary, this is about you and me. This is about kids being pushed in harm's way by reckless and repeated decisions to get scientists and doctors out of the way and allow conspiracy theories to dictate this country's health policy. I don't see any evidence that you have any regrets about anything you've done or plans to change it. And my last comment is, I hope that you will tell the American people how many preventable child deaths are an acceptable sacrifice for enacting an agenda that I think is fundamentally cruel and defies common sense. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do I get a reply? Or, Senator, you've sat in that chair for how long? 20, 25 years, while the chronic disease in our children went up to 76%. And you said nothing. You never asked the question why it's happening. Why is this happening? Today, for the first time in 20 years, we learned that infant mortality has increased in our country. It's not because I came in here. It's because of what happened during the Biden administration that we're going to end.
I'm going to let Senator Wyden respond briefly to that, and then we're not going to go over like we just did.
Defend this committee on a bipartisan basis. Colleagues, my cabinet secretary says, I don't think, Mr. Secretary, this is about you. Defend this committee on a bipartisan basis. Colleagues, my cabinet secretary says that we have no interest in chronic care. Mr. Secretary,
Mr. Chairman, could we have regular order, please?
We are in the process of turning around the Medicare program with the chronic care bill that Chairman Hatch, when he was chairman, and this committee put together on a bipartisan basis.
All right.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.